Hello, welcome to Fun Facts Regarding Texas Abortion. I'll start out by saying that I'm no expert in this area. Everything I know I found off of the internet and pulled this story together, so I hope you enjoy it. If you find errors, please DM me, let me know. So let's get to the agenda here. So this is intended to be an ambitious and breezy trip through the numbers, looking for insights. So we are going to cover Texas demographics, sex and contraception, pregnancies, abortion demographics. I have some takeaways and what's next. So let's start out. What are the Texas demographics? We have about 30 million Texans living in our state right now, split about equally between men and women. 25% are under 18 at about 7.5. And of the adults, a little more are single than married. So you see the 49-50%. But the most important number is the bottom. 6.2 million Texans are of the age where they potentially could become pregnant. So the first step is, of course, sex. So how often do people have sex was the question I had. So found some great resources. You see the average, according to this study, is 54 times a year. Obviously, you see unmarried people that have partners or more active than the married people, and of course, people without partners are the least active. Nevertheless, for this exercise, we'll use 54. And if we take the 54 times a year and multiply it by the 6.2 million women and their partners, it gives us a whopping 334 million times, exactly 917,000 times every day for a pregnancy to happen. So the question is, how often would an encounter create an unwanted pregnancy, right? Starting from the beginning. So I found this nice set of data here back from 2018, and I think it's still relevant for 2022, at least for our purposes. There's two important things in here. One is it tells me that about 63%, according to the surveys they were doing, of women who were sexually active are not seeking a pregnancy at that time. And then the second thing it tells me is the different methods of contraception that these women were using. Basically that's going to give us some good basic data here. So I took this information and merged it with the other, and it gives us this. So what you see is method of birth control on the first column. Then you see the number of women, 63 times these different methods. You see the effectiveness, which obviously varies a bit. And then you see, even with this effectiveness, there's pregnancies that happen, right? It's just part of the large number of outcome of large numbers, right? So you see 245,000 potential pregnancies that just comes out of the fact that we have a large volume of people and they're using this distributed list of methods of birth control. So just keep that in the back of your mind. And let's switch our conversation a bit to the actual pregnancy numbers. And this is run rates for 2022 found off the internet. So we have about 400,000 pregnancies is the expectation, of which 59% are to married mothers and 41% to single mothers. So I found this quite interesting. Of course, there was about 56,000 miscarriages, about 12.5%. And then we know from the data that there's been 55,000 pregnancies or abortions that ended from the pregnancies that ended in abortion. So total of 509,000 pregnancies, 78% eventually were carried to term. Okay, so now we're going to dive into abortions, right? So the first question is, give me some graphs, some demographics. So you see a bit here about the different races and ethnicities, and it's about equal in terms of volume of people between Hispanic, white, and black. You also see that the procedure is rapidly changing. So the pill is almost even with the surgery, and from what I read, that's going to continue to increase here over time. The other question would be the age, right? And of course, the answer is the vast majority of people who have an abortion are in the 20 to 29 year range, with the second group in their 30s. And then of course, the question is how long, right? We talk about a lot of extreme scenarios, but the reality is almost everything is dealt with within 10 weeks or earlier. So that's the kind of what happens down the middle. So then the question is, why have an abortion, right? What is the situation for these women? And again, some nice studies on the internet came back, and really you see these reasons. The first one, not financially prepared, number one. And then the second one is bad timing, not ready, kind of unplanned. The third one is related to the partner itself, right? So the individual is not seen as an individual where it really be a proper support group going forward. And then this next one was really interesting for me, focused on other children, which and says that they already are mothers, and they're trying to, obviously keep from being a mother again for another child, right? There's some additional data down here below, but the summary is kind of this, right? Young people say they're not ready, and then older people say they're already responsible for children and they're past their childbearing ages. So that's the majority of the individuals that are going through this. So here's my takeaways for what it's worth. 55,000 people experience abortion, about 1,500 a day. Including their friend group and their family group, 200,000 Texans experience this process. And okay, of course, 200,000 out of 3 million is a very low percentage. The number of abortions is well under what the expected failure rate of contraceptives would be, just doing the math. So it's likely that all these women were using some sort of birth control when they got pregnant. And then, of course, the decision about aborting the child is really driven by economics. It's quite clear. So anyway, this is the takeaways. So what we're trying to do here is spark conversation, right? Talk to your friends, talk to your family, talk to your parents. My question is, what happens now? So here's some of my questions that you can think about. The first one is, should we expect 55,000 additional babies next year across the demographics that we talked about a while ago? Do we think women will seek illegal abortions in Texas, or will they seek legal services outside of Texas? Is the state going to bring any new programs to help women who now have to complete their pregnancy? I think a big one is, will men become legally responsible for these additional children? I think, will sexual encounters change, right? Will the population, the volume go down? Will birth control change to move to the more effective ones? Will unborn persons gain rights protected by the state? I think the final two are the biggest ones. What do we tell our wives and our partners and our daughters who cherished a right and now it's gone? And then the last one is just what will be the long-term impact of these women, because they're the ones that are going to have to go through this journey. So again, encourage you to have these conversations with your friends. Thank you for listening.